Dear all, this is CA Sujata. In today's Crack the Code series, we are going to understand the income tax provisions relating to sale of immovable property by a non-resident Indian in India, in particular post 23rd July 2024. So why is it important 23rd July 2024 is that there were amendments. There were two amendments through Finance Act in terms of sale of property, period of holding and capital asset, and also the rate of income tax with respect to the sale of immovable property by an NRI. So first and foremost, what we have to understand is that there is no cost of inflation index applicable for non-resident Indians post July 2024. That provision has been completely removed. So when an NRI sells a property, what the deduction he can take is that only the cost of acquisition and the cost of improvement at cost. There is no indexation applicable. So the calculation becomes quite simpler, where the sale value of the property less the purchase is that what is going to be the capital gain. Next, let's understand what is going to be the rate of tax. When it comes to rate of tax, earlier it was 20% under section 195, whereas post 2024 July, it is going to be at 12.5%. That means on the capital gain, the rate of tax is at 12.5%. So on what value do we have to apply? Assuming there is a NRI who wants to reinvest in a property or invest in any of the capital gain bonds, in such case, post deduction, you have to see whether there is any capital gain exist. On that value, you will be applying the 12.5%. Assuming there is no investment, there is no reinvestment of any other immobile property. In such case, on the sale value minus purchase value, the straight 12.5% along with surcharge and the education cess, the rate would be applicable. If you ask me what is the rate of surcharge, it is going to be, if it is 1 crore to 2 crore, it's going to be at 10%. Over and above 2 crore, it is going to be at 15%. So education cess is at 4%. So effectively, it comes to about 14.95%. Close to 15% is going to be the tax rate as far as NRI is concerned. Now, let's go to the next thing. What are the expenses that can be deducted from the sale value? Basically, we all know that the brokerage or any other expenditure incurred towards sale of that property can be claimed as a deduction. In case if any other deductions are there relating to sale of property which has direct nexus over the property, definitely can be claimed. So the question arises is that cost of travel. If NRI travels from abroad to India just for exclusively sale of the property registration purpose, whether that deduction can be claimed? Yes, provided it proves certain points. Now let's come to the point where many of the NRIs question about what happens to the lower deduction certificate. What is lower deduction certificate? First and foremost, let's understand that if a NRI wants to avail lower deduction certificate, the reason for availment should be his effective tax is lower than the actual rate of tax. What is effective rate of tax? Means like if there is a capital gain and that capital gains reduced because of sale of because of reinvestment in any property or and any investment in bonds, 54 EC bonds. In such case, the capital gain comes to very minimal amount and the tax rate applicable on that is effectively like 14.95%, whereas the buyer is liable for deduction at the rate of 12.5% on the sale value of the property. Please note, it is 12.5% on the sale value of the property. So what happens? The effective rate of tax becomes lesser than the TDS value. So the TDS value, since it is deducted more, the NRI repatriates to that extent lower amount, and also the money deducted in TDS lies in the NRI's account, NRI's TDS in the form of TDS. So he can claim the refund only after filing the returns in the next year. So this process takes quite a long time. In some cases, if the NRI sells the property in the month of April, so he has to wait till the next year returns are getting processed. Typically, it happens in the August or September. So rather than waiting for a period of more than 15 months, they prefer to go for lower deduction certificate. The lower deduction certificate takes about 1 month for getting the certificate in hand, right from applying for TAN by the buyer. So what happens to the NRI who does not have the taxable amount and the TDS amount are more or less the same, then there is no requirement for applying for a lower deduction. So let me repeat, the rate of tax becomes 12.5% plus surcharge and the education cess, and the TDS also it is at 12.5% as compared to 20% under section 195 in the earlier period, that means before 23rd of July 2024. So these are the important things which NRI needs to understand when it comes to sale of property in India. Hope this video was useful. Thank you.